So now the idea is, when you realize, obviously, that we are the majority, that would mean that in any given area that you are located, okay, depending, but, it could either be greater than that or less than, depending where you are, okay? But let's imagine you're sitting in a train, okay, and you're in a certain area of the train where there are 8 seats, okay, and you're there, you have a soul, okay? Well, that's already 1 out of 8 with a soul. Now, statistically, at least out of those other 7 seats, 5 of them minimum have to also be NPC, because it's statistically the percentage of these NPC backdrop people running around, which would mean that at maximum, it is possible that there are only 3 people with souls in a part of 8. Okay? So now if those other 5, oh my God, sneezing again, if those other 5 individuals, I don't know, decide to say that, like, hey, everyone, we need to do this or that, okay? They are the majority, and therefore you are perceiving that there is a majority that you think are real, and they are making decisions. And even if you kind of feel like, well, that doesn't make sense, you, depending on where you are spiritually and how strong you are spiritually, you may fall under the peer pressure of following these other individuals, because obviously maybe you're wrong. The 5 other people have just said something contrary to you, so you would automatically assume that maybe they're right, okay? So this is the illusion. And if you really were to sit down and deeper reflect on all of the things that have happened in human history, okay? And I'm talking about everything that's happened in your human history, and you put that into perspective, maybe those people that were the exception were actually people with souls, people with compassion in situations where there were wars or there were, I don't know, any kind of violent events that happened in human history, that and these people spoke out, right? Maybe those people that spoke out were the minority of people with souls, even if it was asleep or whatever, and then the majority that we think are, believing this or believing that, those are the ones that are just scripted to push the narrative in the direction that whoever's in control of them, whoever's trying to manipulate the narrative, wants them to go in, okay? So that's kind of like the idea. Now, another thing is that, of course, people will say that, I will say God, because I consider myself to be Christian regardless. I know a lot of people either feel that if you believe in energy, you can't be Christian, and a lot of Christians feel like if you're Christian, you can't believe in energy, when both exist, and both are very well, or are very easy to demonstrate, even in biblical scriptures and all of this, right? They're just put into other words. So I definitely, know that energy exists, and obviously God created this earth, and in my opinion, obviously it's just been hijacked by the enemy, by the devil, whoever, whatever you want to say. So the thing is, when these backdrop people were created, what is said is that obviously for the same energy that belonged to us and that we invested into this simulation, because it's, believe that we came here to learn certain things, all right? We're just trapped. So if we came here to learn certain things, and now, we invested some of our energy into this simulation in order to create and have these backdrop people here to create, a more fulfilling experience, right? Then technically, those NPC, backdrop people, whatever, are extensions of us, okay? Not necessarily that we have to look at them as like, like they're anything less or anything like this, because that would also be playing into ego. Now, it's easier said than done depending on your situation, okay? If you've never been targeted, if you're not a targeted individual and you just, were lucky enough to just wake up and be able to co-create and all of this, that's fine. So your experience will be that, whatever you're thinking on the inside, whatever you're feeling on the inside is what you're going to start perceiving on the outside from the NPCs around you, from the backdrop people who are in your vicinity, right? For the most part, okay? That's the way it should work. That's how it was probably meant to work, right? That they're supposed to be adding to our experience, even if they're not the most agreeable individuals, but the experiences are supposed to push us and help us develop emotionally and spiritually, okay? So that's the idea. That's the way it should work. But for people who are actually awakening and have been placed in this simulation to awaken and possibly disrupt it with their energy, with their truth, with their authenticity, with their knowledge, whatever, those that God has placed a calling on, okay, that are in the simulation and begin to awaken, are not going to receive or experience this phenomena where the NPCs are kind of just rolling with you, okay? What will start to happen is you're going to see what I explained is a type of firewall, a firewall reaction, okay? The system is going to realize like, someone's waking up in this area, and it's going to, one, give you as much distraction as possible to have you not be able to fulfill your calling and wake up. And two, in some cases, do everything possible to sabotage you from waking up, to sabotage you from reaching a certain level of stability, okay? Because obviously if you're in struggle mode, you're not going to be able to, depending on who you are, be focused obviously on your sometimes spiritual development and all this. You're going to be in struggle mode, depending on who you are, depending on your strength, okay? That's the idea. So now, how you handle the targeting and how you handle this firewall response obviously is going to depend on what beliefs you already had in place and what beliefs you decide to employ. In my case, consider that I have always had a Christian upbringing. This is what has ultimately helped me, I think, bypass and manage all of the things that have happened to me, okay? I'm not going to push one idea on everyone because everyone's different and maybe something else might work for someone else. But as far as I'm concerned and my belief in God and in Jesus Christ, Yeshua Jesus Christ, I feel has been what has kept me, one, sane, two, been able to continue to have faith and hope and also feel empowered despite all of the things that have happened to me that were meant to create doubt, that were meant to basically break me, okay? Now, the way that the Matrix has tried to do this has been through, obviously, as many people who have been targeted will tell you, attacking your finances, attacking you through loved ones, and even just trying to make you, again, turn on yourself with doubt, with feelings of feeling inadequate and things like this, of that nature, okay? So before I realized what was happening, okay, because my narratives have been really interesting to the point where now Even though all of these things are still happening in my life, because anyone who is being targeted will tell you that you can be years in this situation, okay? But anybody will tell you that the tactics are usually all very similar, okay? You can go into any kind of forum, on Quora especially, where there are a lot of people who are giving their stories and kind of talking about things that have happened to them, and you'll notice that there's a pattern, which means that, it can't be that, like, I'm in one side of the world and they're in another side of the world, and everyone who is suffering, quote unquote, let's not call it suffering, but you know what I mean. Everyone who's experiencing this, we are all noticing the same things. The difference is how you are interpreting it, okay? So one of the things that I have noticed is that you have some people that kind of stay stuck in explaining it away as, okay, yes, I'm being targeted, and it's the government, they're putting my neighbors, they're putting my family members, etc. Everyone usually admits that it's something very demonic, okay? It's something sinister in nature. So there, everyone is, everyone observes that, okay? But I think what a lot of people don't go on to the next step is to realize that it is a simulation. They stay stuck in thinking like, oh, they bought off my boyfriend to spy on me and my neighbor, etc. But yeah, it's not necessarily that they've bought or paid someone around you to turn on you all of a sudden. That person was always around you, but that person was an NPC. Okay, so you're basically, you're just dating an NPC, that's all. So they can be scripted or reprogrammed to do whatever the people who control the NPCs, that minority of controllers, whatever, that try to uphold this matrix for their benefit, who are usually people with how should I say, satanic leagues or whatever. But I'm not gonna say like 100% that all of them have souls, but basically there's a group of folks that know what's going on and they control the majority, right? So they are not employing anyone necessarily. These people are just all NPCs. You just didn't know it. So your neighbors are NPCs. So yeah, if you're like, oh, all my neighbors are doing, like, I know to some people you shouldn't, you explain it to some people and they'll just think like you're nuts or something like that. But if you really look at it from the perspective of it's a simulation and they are the majority, well, it would make sense that it's your neighbor, it's your aunt, because we are the minority. We are in families where obviously you can have a mom who's an NPC. You can have a sister who's an NPC, but maybe you and your brother have real souls, okay? And the thing is, it's, like, imagine one parent is an NPC and one parent is real. If they have a child, I mean, you never know. It just depends the soul that's coming into this this plane of existence, whether they have a soul or not. You never know. And when it comes to things like this, I feel like a lot of people who are being targeted, they stay stuck. They stay stuck and they don't get it. They haven't observed anything yet, or they haven't awoken to that level yet to realize how intrinsic the targeting is. It's not that complicated, but yet it's not that simple, right? So that's one thing that I think is an issue that a lot of targeted people need to investigate and research about, because otherwise you won't know how to find the closure or to move on to the next steps of healing or moving forward if you continue to feel that you are the victim. And ultimately, the NPCs like that you feel that way. they do a lot of things to make it appear as if they're using all of these kinds of technologies to monitor you and all of this, when I can swear to you that in experiences that I've had, I've seen NPCs with absolutely no phone, nothing on them, and they've been able to somehow, I guess, use telepathy or something like that to read thoughts. Okay, so it's all a farce. It's all a farce. It's not necessarily that they are using all of this technology per se. Even if they say, I think they even put out those patents on some of this technology to make it seem like it exists. So when people do start to come out and speak about it, at least it sounds like plausible, but never for you to get into the real meat of the how should I say, not for you to really grasp that it's even something bigger than that, because it's all a simulation. You understand? Because once you realize that it's a simulation, you understand that you can control it to some degree using your energy, using prayer, okay, using intention, versus when you feel that you're being attacked by everyone and then you are just the victim.